and welcome to the National General Accident and Health. We're going to go over the plan enhancer as well as the accident fix benefit. So we're going to go over the plan benefit, the eligibility requirements. So what is it going to take to enroll in the plan enhancer, as well as any post-sales information you or your client may have with the product once it's been purchased. So, National General Accident Health Plan Enhancer is an accident medical expense product that, depending on the state, also gives you the option to add that cancer, heart, and stroke rider, or even the sickness hospitalization rider. One of the nice things about the plan enhancer is the wide benefit range. So you'll notice that has been updated. It's now a range that starts at $2,500 and goes all the way up through $17,500. So you can easily match what your client's going to need. Now, the trend that we're seeing is the most common benefit plan is, again, $7,500 up through $10,000. Now, one of the nice things about the plan enhancer is this is a guaranteed issue. So, that's a wonderful option. So remember, the plan enhancer is supplemental coverage, and this is not going to satisfy the government's requirements for that minimum essential coverage. That 10 essential health benefits? Yeah, it doesn't meet that criteria. So, be sure to keep that in mind. Now, remember how we were talking about there have been increases in the benefit options? So, again, it goes from $2,500 all the way up to $17,000. And again, the trend that we're seeing, the most common policies being sold are those $7,500 and $10,000 policies. So it's quite a nice variety depending on where that maximum out of pocket is falling for your insured. Now remember, the plan has a $250 deductible, coordinates with the maximum out of pocket. So now that your client can use that accident medical expense benefit for accident related health care costs. So, fortunately or unfortunately, accidents happen. So, you're actually giving your insured some peace of mind. So, we hope they never have to use it, but in the event, it's there. Now remember, we also have the accidental death and dismemberment within this policy. And then, of course, no waiting periods. How can you go wrong with that? But again, remember, guys, and I'm pointing it out because we've had a lot of questions about this recently, this is a $250 deductible. And again, as I've already said once, but I'm just reiterating, this is a guaranteed issue. That's the best part of the plan. So you can always make sure that your members are satisfied because you know that they're going to get that plan. So let's look at our friend Mark here. Well, Mark has had a little bit of an issue. So if we look here, Mark was painting and he fell. So when he fell off the ladder, he broke his ankle. Mark had a $3,000 out-of-pocket maximum and a $5,000 plan enhancer. So his medical costs were $4,500. The accident medical deductible was $250, and then the medical expense that was paid was $4,250, but the primary insurance company only paid $300. So Mark is going to be responsible for $1,250, the AME deductible, on this. So now, with the plan enhancer, depending on the state, you have the choice. You can add one or both of those riders. You know, that cancer, the cancer, heart, and stroke rider. It's a nice match with the accident medical expense because this rider pays one lump sum payment for first ever cancer diagnosis, and of course the first ever heart attack or even that stroke. And again, lump sum payment. You can't go wrong with that. Remember, this is the guaranteed issue. We have a 90-day waiting period for the cancer policy. We have the 30-day waiting period for heart or stroke. So let's look at our friend Eric here. Eric had a routine colonoscopy and found out that he had colon cancer. He had that $5,000 maximum out-of-pocket limit and a $5,000 plan enhancer with cancer, heart, stroke rider on the policy. So his treatment cost was $14,019. The primary medical plan paid was $9,019. The cancer, heart, and stroke policy that we were just talking about paid $5,000. So his remaining out-of-pocket was $0. I mean, when you think about it, this is the best case scenario you can have for your insured, because they're not worrying and stressing out about money or how am I going to pay for this, because again, with this particular example, Eric can just focus on getting better. So let's talk about the sickness hospitalization rider. So this rider again pays as a lump sum benefit, and it is going to match the AME amount. So for the first day of a covered hospital admission due to a sickness, the benefit can be used once per year per person, no more than 2 benefits per year per family. And there is a 30-day waiting period on this plan as well. Now, please note that this cannot be sold as a standalone. So let's look at our friend Donna here. Donna was admitted to the hospital with pneumonia. She had a $5,000 out-of-pocket limit and a $5,000 plan enhancer. So her treatment cost $9,300. The primary medical plan paid $4,300, and the sickness hospitalization rider paid $5,000. So at the end of this, Donna's remaining out-of-pocket was $0. Again, Donna can focus on getting better, not worrying about or stressing about those medical bills. Now we're just going to kind of touch on the exclusions. So anything prior to the effective date, dental treatments except as otherwise covered for dental injury, hernia or heat exhaustion, mental or emotional disorders, war or any act of war, hazardous activities, hazardous occupations, intentional self-inflicted injury. Now, these are just a small example of some of the exclusions. I highly recommend that you go look at the complete list of limitations and exclusions, which you can find in the contract or even in the brochures. But again, this is just samples. Exclusions. Again, we kind of went through this. Heart, stroke, Reiter. You'll notice that it's a 24-month pre-existing condition. Diagnosis of disease prior to the effective date, illegal drugs or substance abuse, self-inflicted, and then please note the 90-day wait for cancer and the 30-day wait for stroke and the states that that applies to. And again, always go back to the brochure for a more comprehensive list as well as the policy contract. And as you look over, you'll see the sickness and hospitalization rider. This is the 12-month pre-existing condition, behavior or substance abuse, weight control, self-inflicted, cosmetic, treatment outside a hospital, and again, that act of war. And again, please pay attention to the 30-day wait. Because remember guys, it does depend on the state. Speaking of states, here are these are the current states, the most up-to-date that we have the Plan Enhancer available in. And again, you always might want to double check, make sure it's available, because this is constantly updating and constantly changing. Okay, let's talk about eligibility ages. We are under the accident medical expense. It's up to age 64, and they do have that child-only policy. And then the optional cancer with the heart and stroke and the sickness hospitalization rider is ages 18 through 64. And then you'll note there is a no child-only policy. Now, under the accident medical health portion of the plan, they will accept primary applicants, again, up to age 64, and you can get that child-only policies. But under the riders, the cancer, heart and stroke, the sickness health, you can have insureds from age 16 to 64. Now please remember, if there is a dependent, you can do the dependent off of the primary applicant. So wait, say that again, Loren. So if I wanted to add my child to my existing cancer, heart and stroke, or that sickness, I can do that if I am the primary insured. There has to be a primary insured where you can add, again, that child, but no child only. Dependent, yes, we're good to go. So, just to recap, the Plan Enhancer is the accident medical expense, It has an optional cancer, heart, and stroke rider available in, again, some states, not all those states, so double check. And then, of course, the sickness hospitalization rider availability, again, double check those states. And then, as you know, we had a much wider variety of benefit coverages based on face amounts. But again, look at the MOOP, the maximum out-of-pocket benefit for your insured. Now, one of the beautiful things about this particular plan enhancer or this particular policy is there's no network restrictions. So your insured can pick any doctor, any hospital. And then we're also available, again, in a large number of states, but, you know, double check, because we're constantly adding all the time. So we're just gonna wait a few seconds and then go on to the next for the next topic of discussion, which is the accident fixed benefit. Okay guys, so again, we are going over the accident fixed benefit plan. So if you guys have questions, please by all means go ahead and send me over that information in the chat and we will answer them accordingly. Now in here we're going to go over the plan design, the eligibility, enrollment, and then of course the post-sales information, again, something that you or maybe your client had questions about after the sale, okay? Okay, so under the accident fixed benefit, please note that you get a set cash benefit for each covered injury or service. This is going to pay on top of the benefits from any other plans. And then doesn't matter what doctor or hospital that has been used. And then it's easy to use and understand, which is even better. And in most cases, the individual rates can start around as low as $25. So let's look at some of these plan details. So if you look at a covered treatment and services, so for the hospital room and board, an individual is going to get paid $750 per day, subject to a 30-day maximum. Inpatient hospital services are $750 per day, subject to a 15-day maximum. Ancillary hospital charges is $150 per treatment of services, but please note that's only up to 5 in total. Outpatient surgical expenses is $250 per visit, subject to a 5-visit maximum. And then you'll note we have the physician here is $50 per visit. Procedures or consultations subject to visits. Procedures or consultations, guys, they have a maximum of 8 visits. Medical equipment rental, services, supplies, artificial instruments, rehabilitation, braces, or application is going to be $100 benefit paid. Dental, $200. Eyeglasses, contact lenses, hearing aids is a $50 benefit. Rehabilitation, $150 benefit. Now please note, maximum benefit amount is $15,000 per covered accident. Again, the note here is covered accident. So let's look at some additional details here, guys. Under the covered treatment and services, note that it says injury may occur within 30 days of the covered accident. So let's say you kind of sort of forgot to mention that you had this accident and it's 2 months later. Sorry, not gonna work. But keep in mind, most people remember these plans. So if we look at a dislocation, whether it's the hip, knee, waist, elbow, ankle, shoulder blades, or the collarbone or your jaw, that's a $500 benefit amount. Concussions, $100. Fractures is $150 per treatment of services, up to 5 in total. So if we look here, the hip, skull, note, excluding nose, lower jaw, and teeth. But the neck is going to be a covered benefit, and that's $2,500. Pelvis, again, please note the exclusions, $1,500. If we look at the thigh, lower leg, upper arm, forearm, shoulder blades, elbow, heel, lower jaw, collarbone, wrist, kneecap, it's $1,500 benefit. Under the hand, excluding fingers and thumbs, foot, excluding toes, heels, and ankles, is $1,000 benefit. Vertebrae, $1,500 each. Please note the each. And then of course we have the cheekbone as well as the ribs. Again, please note the ribs is each. That's $500. Cheekbone is $300. Now we have ambulance covered treatment and services in here too. So under the ambulance, you have a $200 per trip per covered accident, subject to a 2-trip maximum. Now, the key to that is the maximum, 2-trip maximum. And then we have the air. This is a $3,000 per trip per covered accident, subject to a subject to 1 trip. Again, this is all based on that maximum benefit amount of $10,000 per covered accident. So a really dear friend of mine had a horrific dirt bike accident a couple years back. And unfortunately for him, he didn't have an accident fixed benefit policy. I know after the fact he wished he did, because he had to have the medevac come and retrieve him and take him to the nearest hospital. Well, from the actual area that he had his dirt bike accident to the nearest hospital was 8 miles. And again, unfortunately for him, he didn't have any kind of policy that was going to assist him with that particular expense, because when he got the bill for that 8 miles, it was $25,000. Yeah, I said it, $25,000. So that air travel, whether it's helicopter or airplane, is going to be very expensive. $3,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have no coverage, it's better than none. And again, remember, 8 miles, $25,000. Yeah, so needless to say, he was really worried about where he was going to come up with all this money. So let's talk about the examinations and hospitalizations. So the covered treatment and services, you have the emergency room benefit amount. So that's $250 a day, and that's under this super covered accident. The maximum benefit period is 1 day. Accident, death, and dismemberment benefit, well, if you'll look to the right, you'll see it's a percentage of the $50,000 benefit amount. So loss of both hands, both feet, or the entire sight in both eyes, one is covered under 100% of the benefit. So they would get, $50,000. If you note the one hand and or 1 foot, it's 50%. One hand or 1 foot or entire sight in one eye is 50%. Entire sight in one eye is 25%. Speech or hearing in both ears, 50%. And then hearing in one ear is 25%. So, exclusions. We have the sickness, intentional or self-inflicted, members of the armed services, cosmetic, elective, services outside the US and Canada. So this is quite important. And then, of course, sports activity for pay or financial reward. Racing a vehicle. These are just a couple of the examples. So if you want the complete list, again, I highly advise you to go back to the brochure. States available. Okay, well, I think it'd just be easier for me to tell you what states we do not currently have the accident fixed benefit in. Might be a little bit easier. That's New Mexico, or excuse me, I beg your pardon, New Mexico is there, I beg your pardon. We have Minnesota, New York, Vermont, and we have Washington are the states that we currently do not have the accident fixed benefit. So let me just double check that. Yep, I have double checked. We do not have any of the accident fixed benefit in Minnesota, New York, Vermont, and Washington. Pretty simple, right? So let's talk about eligible ages. So the primary applicant must be from the ages of 18 to 64 at the time of application. So unfortunately, there is no child-only policies. Children can stay on the parent's plan. The dependent, again, can stay on the parent's plan through age 25. And please note that this product is renewable to age 70. But again, 64 is the maximum age at the time of application. Enrollment. So any date between the 1st of the month through the 31st of the month. You can have the policy issued as soon as the next day. The initial payment is drawn at the time of application. The reoccurring payment is 5 days before the monthly anniversary of the start date. And then forms of payment are, EFT, whether that's from your checking or your savings account, Visa, MasterCard, or Discover Card. So this is the member portal, www.mynatgen.com. So you're going to have your insured log in at mynatgen.com, and they're going to e-sign those policies. Now please note that must be completed within 7 days. And then, of course, they can always view the policies and the policy documents. Now, we have kind of had a trend working this last couple weeks. Member services number. I highly recommend that you write down the member services number. We've had quite a few agents misplace it or forget. So that's 1-888-781-0585. And then, of course, the National General Accident and Health address, which is the P.O. Box 1070 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina 27102-1070. Now, why would I tell you to write that down or keep that as a reference? There have been some recent phone calls from agents who said that their insureds needed to send over some information and they didn't have a fax number, so they had forms and wanted it to mail it. So there it is. I highly advise you to keep it. And then, of course, please note that fax number at 1-888-844-3232. And then cancellations. So for a plan cancellation, it must be requested 10 days prior to the month anniversary to stop premium withdrawal. But note that that's not applicable with this single pay option. It's when it is that monthly option. Now, for any reason, if you have questions or you need additional resources, I highly advise you to go to National General Accident Health. We have a page on YouTube, so you can always go in there and brush up on products, quoting systems, policy administration. If you have a few minutes, I highly recommend you go on there because we're constantly updating that area as well. So, again, a recap on the fixed benefit. So this is that cash benefit to help with the unexpected. So again, we never plan on having an accident, but it's nice to know that you have that extra benefit there and the money's coming in. So again, we have that large number of covered benefits, easy to use and easy to understand, that accidental death and dismemberment, as well as picking your own doctor and hospital at any time during that accident. And then, of course, we have available in a large number of states. But, you can always come back and double check at any time, and we highly urge you to do that. As to if new states are being added or new additional benefits. And then, of course, guys, if you have any questions on this or any other National General products or questions to, hey, what about, can I combine this policy with this policy? Morning, noon, or night, if you email training@ngisadmin.com, we have people that are covering that email bin and, would be more than happy to go through and find that information for you. If you question it, please email us. Again, that email address is training@ngisadmin.com. All right, guys, thank you so much for spending a very large portion of your day with me, because I know you're super busy and I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day. Bye now.